Chapter 1. You are not here to survive reality. You're here to reshape it. There are moments in life where everything feels still, not peaceful, but paused, as if the world is quietly asking, is this really all there is? You felt it, that subtle ache beneath routine, that flicker behind the eyes of someone going through the motions. Maybe it lives in the silence between texts. Maybe it's in the way you sigh before doing the thing you were supposed to want. But what if that ache isn't a flaw? What if it's the very invitation you've been ignoring? The call not to endure reality, but to recode it. Because here's a truth too few ever speak aloud. You were not born to survive reality. You were born to reshape it. And that's exactly what this journey is about. Most people live as if life is happening to them. They wake up and scroll, obey calendars, react to headlines, avoid discomfort, and occasionally dream in quiet frustration. But all the while, the real architecture of their lives, the structure behind their circumstances, remains untouched, invisible, undesigned. Here's what you must understand. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid. It responds not to your hopes, not to your wishes, but to your state of being. In every moment, you're transmitting a signal, a frequency, a vibration, not with your words, not even with your thoughts, but with your identity. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you are. This may sound poetic, but it's not metaphor. It's mechanics. Think of reality as a mirror, not a delay, not a debate, a mirror. And yet most people stand before it, frowning, waiting for the reflection to smile first. But mirrors don't work that way. Neither does the world. When you shift your inner world, your external world has no choice. The shift isn't philosophical, it's practical, immediate, quantum. This journey you're about to take isn't theoretical. It's not inspirational. It's a practical reprogramming of how you interact with the most powerful force in existence, your consciousness. And over the next 2 hours, you'll begin to see that the secret isn't in trying harder or wanting more. It's in being differently. Because the real transformation doesn't begin with a goal. It begins with a decision to stop being the version of you who's waiting and start living as the version of you who already knows. This is where it all begins, not with ambition, not with hope, but with awareness. Awareness that your thoughts are not just internal noise, but frequency generators. That your feelings are not fleeting moods, but vibrational commands. That your identity isn't fixed, it's selectable. You can choose the version of yourself you wake up as tomorrow. And when you do, reality won't resist. It will reorganize. So ask yourself this. Are you ready to stop reacting to reality and start directing it? Are you ready to stop waiting for signs and become the signal? Because once you realize that life is not happening to you, but through you, you will never see your mornings, your choices, your future the same way again. And that is where we begin. You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Rumi. Now, let's go deeper. Let's talk about identity. Let's talk about frequency. Let's talk about the one truth that reshapes everything else. You do not get what you want. You get what you are. Chapter 2, Identity and Frequency. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Let's start with a quiet truth. Everything you're currently experiencing, The relationships you're in, the opportunities that appear or don't, the energy you wake up with, and the results that seem to repeat, isn't a reflection of your desires. It's a reflection of your identity. Let that settle, because this changes everything. The most powerful force in your life isn't your intelligence, your habits, or even your vision. It's who you believe yourself to be, and the frequency you emit as a result. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your vibration, and your vibration is set by your identity. This is why people can do everything right and still feel stuck. They journal, visualize, affirm, hustle, push, and wonder why nothing changes. But manifestation isn't about effort. It's about alignment. If your frequency says, "I'm still waiting," the universe says, "Then I'll wait too." Imagine a radio dial. You're tuned to 93.1 FM. That's your current frequency, your self-concept. But you want to experience the reality that lives at 106.9 FM. More abundance, deeper love, greater peace, authentic purpose. You can scream at the dial. You can wish for 106.9 all day. But unless you shift the signal, you'll never hear that song. And so the question becomes, what frequency are you tuned to? And what identity is broadcasting from there? Let's go deeper. When you wake up in the morning, what version of you gets out of bed? Is it the version that's constantly solving, fixing, proving? Is it the one that wakes up already behind, already bracing for disappointment? Or is it the version that knows, not hopes, but knows that they are aligned with a life of flow, joy, and coherence? The world responds not to what you think you deserve. It responds to the state of being you normalize. And the most common state isn't anxiety. It's amnesia. We forget that we are not our circumstances. We are the consciousness shaping them. Let me tell you about Margaret Wells. She was a seamstress in 1930s Boston, stitching clothes in the back of a dusty tailor shop, dreaming of a future she didn't believe she'd ever touch. But something shifted one rainy afternoon. It wasn't the shop. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't her skill set. It was her identity. She stopped waiting to be discovered. She stopped identifying as someone who was trying. Instead, she became the version of herself who already owned the boutique. She started walking differently, speaking with quiet certainty, redesigning her small workspace as if it were a showroom. Clients didn't change because she got lucky. They changed because she became magnetic to a new frequency. And when the local paper featured her shop 6 weeks later, it wasn't a surprise. It was just reality catching up to her decision. This is the moment that most people miss. They're waiting for the world to change so they can finally become the version of themselves they admire. But that's not how it works. The version of reality you want already exists, but it's locked behind a version of you who lives there. To access it, you don't hustle. You tune in. You become it now, and the external will rearrange itself with eerie precision. So how do we change identity? Not by thinking harder, not by faking it till we make it, but by embodying a new emotional baseline, one that reflects who we're choosing to be. That version of you, they already exist. Somewhere in the infinite field, your future self is already living the life you now desire. They don't chase. They don't prove. They resonate. The key is to collapse the timeline by stepping into their frequency now. Let's make this practical. Take a deep breath. Now ask yourself, who is the version of me that already has the life I want? Not what they do, who they are. How do they carry themselves? What do they no longer tolerate? How do they feel when they walk into a room? What do they assume about life, money, love, timing? Now here's the key. That version isn't waiting to be earned. It's waiting to be activated. You activate them not with more effort, but with embodied decision. You walk as them. You speak as them. You treat yourself as they would, and life responds accordingly. Identity is a choice, and every choice is a signal. You can no longer afford to send out the vibration of indecision, of hoping, of almost. You must lock in. When you shift who you're being, you won't need to look for signs, because everything around you will begin to mirror the shift. And it happens fast. Reality is not slow. It only feels that way when you're misaligned. Let's anchor this with clarity. If your life feels like repetition, it's not your circumstances. It's your identity loop. Break the loop. Change the frequency. And the reflection must change. Not might. Must. Here's your activation. 1. Name the version of you you're ready to become. Example. I am the grounded creator of a calm, prosperous life. 2. Describe how they feel, act, move, and choose. 3. Live today in that frequency, not as a performance, but as a homecoming. Because the version of you who is still waiting, they are not compatible with the timeline you're calling in. But the version who embodies it now, they are the invitation that pulls the future into the present. This is why identity and frequency are the foundation of all manifestation. You don't create what you want. You create what your nervous system believes is familiar. So make the extraordinary your new normal. Make peace your baseline. Make abundance feel casual. Make power feel safe. You're not here to improve your old self. You're here to step into your remembered self, the one who doesn't wait, the one who already is. And when you become that version, life doesn't resist. It bends, effortlessly, because you're not just attracting a new reality. You're tuning into one that was always waiting for you to show up. Chapter 3. The choice in the timeline. Reality isn't waiting. It's responding. Something incredible happens the moment you stop asking, how do I get there? And start asking, which version of reality do I choose to enter right now? This isn't fantasy. This is frequency physics. Because here's what no one tells you. You're not moving through time. You're moving through timelines, and they respond to choice, not chronology. Think about this. There isn't just one version of your future. There are infinite versions, all real, all potential, all waiting. The one where you stay stuck, that exists. The one where you wake up peaceful every morning, also exists. The one where you lead, thrive, love, and remember who you are, it's already there. You don't need to build it. You need to match it. Because the future doesn't come to you. You step into it. Picture a hallway of doors. Each door is a different future. You have the key, but the key is an effort. The key is alignment. You don't get access by proving you're ready. You get access by choosing like you're already inside. And the moment your choices begin to resonate with the version of you who already lives that future, the door unlocks. Not with noise, but with perfect, sacred silence. Because reality doesn't need to scream to be true. It just waits and responds Take Roger Matthews. In 1923, he was a struggling journalist in New York City, writing late nights, racing deadlines, selling pieces that barely paid his rent. He believed success would come someday, after enough grind, after enough validation. Then he met Augustus Ville, an eccentric clockmaker who told him, "Time isn't a river, boy. It's an ocean, and you're allowed to swim sideways." Roger laughed, until he didn't, because that night, he sat down at his desk and asked a new question. What if I'm already the writer I keep trying to become? He didn't change his job. He changed his frequency. He wrote from a different timeline, from a different self. The tone shifted. The voice matured. The words landed with new weight. And within weeks, he was offered a feature in a major publication. Not because he forced it, but because he finally aligned with it. You are never becoming. You are always selecting. Every decision is a fork in the timeline. Every emotional state is a door. Every act of self-belief is a key. You don't get a better life by waiting for conditions to align. You get it by deciding first and letting the universe rush to meet your new signal. This is what time really is. Not a calendar, not a clock, but a mirror. And when you change the reflection you expect to see, the world must respond. Not later, but now. You're not here to wait. You're here to transmit. So ask yourself, what version of you do you keep postponing? What decision have you been waiting for permission to make? What version of life have you been imagining, but not embodying? Because here's the paradox. Most people wait for evidence. But in this reality, evidence follows frequency. The version of you who decides without proof is the version who begins to collapse timelines. Not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. Let's make this real. Right now, choose one future that feels distant but magnetic. Maybe it's a life of creative freedom. Maybe it's the healed version of you. Maybe it's wealth, peace, love, or all of them woven into one elegant expression of your highest self. Now pause and breathe into that timeline. Close your eyes if needed. Feel what that version of life feels like. Notice, what does your space look like? How do people greet you? What do your mornings feel like? What does ease feel like in your body? Now, here's the invitation. For the next 24 hours, live as if you've already crossed the threshold. Not pretending, not acting, but choosing. Choosing to align your behavior with that future. Choosing to collapse the gap. Choosing to no longer send mixed signals to the universe. Life doesn't respond to half decisions. It responds to clarity. Clarity is a vibration. And when the universe senses you're no longer flirting with the life you want, but fully living as if it's already yours, it organizes itself accordingly. Not because it's magic, because it's law. Here's the most radical truth of all. You don't attract your future. You access it. It's not far away. It's simply sitting on a different frequency, a station you haven't quite dialed in yet. But you can. Now, with choice, with embodiment, with faith not as hope, but as memory. Because the future you seek isn't a dream. It's a reminder. From this point forward, make every decision as if the life you want is already in motion. Because it is. You're not just hoping for change anymore. You're choosing the timeline where it has already occurred. And when you do, you look around and recognize everything, not as new, but as finally matching the version of you that chose first. Chapter 4. The Mirror Principle. Your reality isn't a reaction. It's a reflection. There's a moment on the journey of awakening when the question finally turns inward. Not, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this showing me about me? This is where the mirror principle begins. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Let's start here. Reality doesn't judge you. It reflects you. It isn't listening to your words. It's calibrating to your state, the dominant emotional and energetic frequency you inhabit. If there's conflict in your world, look at your inner dialogue. If you feel unseen, examine how often you abandon your own truth. If money feels elusive, ask yourself, do I live as someone who trusts life to support me, or as someone who braces for scarcity? The mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't delay. It simply shows you who you've been being. And that's the shift no one warns you about. You can't fake this. You can't chant your way into abundance while vibrating fear. You can't act loving while resenting yourself underneath. The mirror reflects the signal, not the performance. But this isn't punishment. It's precision. Because if you want to evolve, you need feedback. And the mirror gives it to you with brutal, beautiful honesty. Let's illustrate it. Harold Davis was a street magician in Chicago, 1940s. His routines were flawless. Perfectly timed illusions, well-rehearsed patter. But the crowd? Numb, cold, disinterested. Until one rainy evening, something shifted, not in the trick, in him. Tired of performing for approval, Harold dropped into something different, mastery. He didn't act like a master. He felt like one, rooted, radiant, sure. And in minutes, the entire crowd leaned in. Applause, laughter, connection. Same sleight of hand, different energy behind it. Because the audience wasn't responding to the trick. They were responding to the state of being he transmitted. You've seen this. The speaker who says little but holds the room. The person who walks in silently but changes the air. The business that sells the same product, but something about their energy draws loyalty, trust, devotion. It's not marketing. It's not even charisma. It's frequency coherence. They are in full alignment. No gaps, no doubt, no distortion. And the mirror? It reflects that clarity right back. So let's make this real for you. Ask yourself, what in my reality right now feels off? And what internal signal might it be mirroring? Be honest. Is your job unfulfilling because your sense of worth has been neglected? Is your relationship strained because you haven't spoken your truth in months? Is life moving slowly because your inner being is still waiting for permission? This is not blame. This is sovereignty. Because when you see the mirror for what it is, a reflection, not a judgment, you regain your power. And a shift is not about force. It's about internal recalibration. You want reality to change? Start with the transmission. Close your eyes. Breathe. Now choose an internal state. Peace, joy, power, love. Feel it not as a thought, but as a body sensation. Let that frequency permeate your breath, your posture, your voice. Then, go to your life. Do the same tasks. Make the same calls. Walk the same route, but carry a different signal. And then, watch the mirror. Watch the synchronicities. Watch how people treat you. Watch how doors open or friction dissolves. Reality doesn't resist aligned energy. It reflects it rapidly. This is why people say, the moment I stopped chasing it, it showed up. Because the chase is a signal of lack. But peace is a signal of already having. And the mirror will always match what you most deeply believe to be true. Not what you wish, not what you force, but what you embody. Take Irene Mitchell, a fashion designer in Manhattan, struggling for years to get buyers to take her work seriously. Nothing changed until one morning before a meeting, she stopped hoping for approval and chose a different state. Certainty. She didn't just walk into that meeting as a designer. She entered as if her genius was no longer up for negotiation. And suddenly, buyers said yes to collections they had rejected months ago. Editors called her bold, fresh, timeless. But the designs hadn't changed. She had. So here's your invitation. Today, conduct your own mirror experiment. 1. Choose a state to embody for the next 3 hours. Confidence, presence, generosity, calm. 2. Don't force the world to change. Let your inner state change first. 3. Then observe. How do people respond to your presence? What offers, messages, or synchronicities show up? What resistance dissolves? Don't explain it. Just notice. Because this is not metaphysics anymore. This is observation. It's the universe showing you. Yes, we see you. We match you. Let this sink deep. You don't live in the world. You live in the reflection of who you believe yourself to be. And as your beliefs shift, as your identity expands, the mirror must follow. Not because it loves you, not because it punishes you, but because that's what mirrors do. Chapter 5, The Art of Surrender. While letting go speeds everything up. Let's begin with the most misunderstood law of the universe. The tighter you grip, the slower it flows. And the moment you let go, everything accelerates. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because control is an illusion dressed in logic. And surrender is the highest form of alignment. You've been taught to fight, to fix, to chase, to squeeze your goals with such intensity that life has no room to breathe. And when things don't move fast enough, you try harder. You double down. You strategize, optimize, analyze, and slowly burn out in the name of progress. But you are not here to force your future. You're here to allow it. You're here to remember that the life you desire doesn't respond to tension. It responds to trust. Let's reframe surrender. Surrender is not passive. Surrender is intelligently receptive. It's saying to the universe, I've done my part. Now I step aside and let the greater order take over. Because yes, you co-create your reality, but you don't control the how, the when, or the choreography of miracles. Trying to force those details is like planting a seed and digging it up every day to see if it's growing. That's not creation. That's interference. Jameson Porter, a young boxer from Chicago in the 1940s, knew this too well. He trained with grit, discipline, aggression. He believed winning meant domination, overpowering everything and everyone. But fight after fight, he walked away exhausted, defeated, confused. One night, under the dim lights of the gym, his old trainer Solomon watched in silence, and then whispered, "You're not losing because you're weak. You're losing because you're resisting." Solomon taught him to redirect energy, to feel instead of force, to surrender to the rhythm of the fight instead of trying to control it. And the moment Jameson let go of domination, his power doubled, because he had stopped pushing against and started flowing with. The same truth emerged in the quiet life of Mildred Thompson, a seamstress, single mother, financially overwhelmed. Every month, she counted bills like battles. Every day, she braced for disappointment, until one morning, mending a torn dress, a thought dropped in her body like a sacred breath. Maybe life isn't test. Maybe it's trying to carry me, and I keep fighting it. That day, she stopped resisting. She didn't give up. She gave over. She welcomed the challenge. She breathed into it. She whispered to herself, "This too is working in my favor." And what happened? A client mentioned her to a theater company. That theater company needed a costume designer. Mildred's name appeared, not by hustle, but by resonance. The mirror responded to her surrender. Here's the paradox. When you let go of the how, you activate a timeline where the how rushes in, because surrender is the frequency of already having. You're no longer begging reality to change. You're radiating the certainty that it already is. And that vibration, that sacred non-resistance, is pure magnetism. Let's make this personal. Ask yourself, where are you gripping too tightly? Maybe it's a relationship, one you're afraid to lose. Maybe it's a dream, one you fear won't happen without control. Maybe it's a version of yourself, one you're scared to evolve beyond. Wherever the tension is, that's where your timeline is trapped. Not because the universe is testing you, but because your energy is saying, "I don't trust." And the universe mirrors that. So here is your invitation. For the next 3 days, choose one area of resistance. And instead of fixing it, bless it. Instead of trying harder, soften. Say to yourself, "This is unfolding perfectly. I don't need to know how. I trust what I can't yet see." And then, live your day with relaxed focus. Open palms, eyes soft, heart steady. Watch what flows in when you stop trying to bend the current. Let go, not as an act of surrender to defeat, but as an act of devotion to wisdom. Because the life you want is not on the other side of more effort. It's on the other side of alignment and allowance. And when you truly trust that, you'll see something sacred unfold. Time speeds up. Solutions appear. People call. Money arrives. Answers drop in without noise. Not because you forced it, but because you got out of the way. The world doesn't need your control. It needs your clarity, your coherence, your surrender to the fact that there is something far bigger, wiser, and more loving at play. And it can only move once you stop pushing. The bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists. Japanese proverb. So today, bend, breathe, bless the unknown, because the unknown is not your enemy. It's the space where miracles finally have room to arrive. Chapter 6, The Activation, Embodying Your Future Self Now. You've learned to see reality as a mirror. You've learned that your identity, your choices, and your energy create the fabric of your world. You've surrendered the illusion of control, allowing a greater intelligence to orchestrate the details. Now, there's only one thing left to do. Become. Become not tomorrow. Not when things align. Not after you feel ready. But now, because the truth is simple and unstoppable. The future doesn't begin when your environment changes. It begins the moment you do. So take a breath. Close your eyes and feel this question not as theory, but as invitation. Who is the version of me that already lives the life I'm waiting for? Feel them. Don't imagine. Remember, that version of you already exists. They're not a dream. They're a frequency, and you can access them now, not by performance, but by resonance. Picture this version in full detail. Where do they wake up? How do they carry themselves? In silence, in movement, in conversation. What's their posture? Their tone of voice? How do they respond to stress? How do they handle time, money, love? What don't they tolerate anymore? And more importantly, what energy do they radiate without trying? That's the code. Because your future self isn't built by action. They're accessed through embodiment. Beatrice Collins was a typist in 1940s Brooklyn. Tiny apartment, stacks of rejection letters, dreams of being a published novelist. Always one day, until one night, she stopped fantasizing and made a decision. I am no longer a typist who wants to write. I am a writer who temporarily types. The next morning, her schedule changed. She wrote at dawn, walked in the afternoons, corresponded with authors, introduced herself not as aspiring, but as already arrived. Her environment didn't shift immediately. She did, and when she did, the mirror moved. Within months, her first novel was published, not because the world gave her permission, but because she activated a self who no longer asked for it. This is the sacred practice. You don't wait for a new reality to arrive. You become the person who lives in it. Now, and everything adjusts. The calls come. The clients shift. The posture realigns. The income expands. The room responds. Because you're no longer sending a mixed signal. You are congruent. You are coherent. You are clear. And reality has no choice but to follow. So here's your ritual. It's simple, powerful, and immediate. The timeline collapse practice. 1. Sit in stillness. Close your eyes. 2. Breathe slowly. Let your nervous system settle. 3. Visualize in vivid sensory detail the future self who lives your highest truth. Not what they do, but who they are. Their energy, their presence, their emotional baseline. 4. Now ask, what can I do today, no matter how small, that expresses this identity? Maybe it's how you walk into a room. Maybe it's how you respond to an email. Maybe it's what you no longer tolerate from yourself or others. 5. For the next 24 hours, live as them. Speak from that version. Choose from that version. Dress, move, breathe, as if the future is already now. This isn't pretending. This is preference, selecting your alignment. It's not fake. It's familiar, because somewhere in the quantum field, this version of you is waiting for one thing only: permission to be chosen. And the only one who can choose them is you. Let this be your new rhythm. Don't act from where you are. Act from where you decided to live. And when your behavior, language, boundaries, and energy match that new identity, the universe must mirror it. It cannot resist your coherence. Because frequency is law. You're not a victim of circumstance. You are a portal of possibility. And today is the day you stop rehearsing the old self and begin living the truth. I'm already the person I've been waiting to become. So do not ask anymore, how long will it take? Ask instead, how deeply am I willing to live from that version of me right now? Because when the identity locks in, the timeline collapses. And this is how you shift everything. You don't move forward. You move inward. You don't chase. You transmit. You don't wait. You embody. And then the world aligns with who you've decided to be. Not with force, not with effort, but with inevitability. Let's end this activation with a whisper to your cells, your field, your future. I remember who I am. I walk as who I already am. I decide, I choose, I embody now. In reality, it mirrors me. It must. Chapter 7, The Flow State. Living in synchronicity and effortless timing. There's a rhythm beneath the rhythm of life. Most people can't hear it. Not because it isn't there, but because they're too busy trying to control the beat. But once you stop pushing, once you step out of resistance and into alignment, you begin to notice something strange, almost magical. Life starts moving with you, not against you. Timing becomes impeccable. People appear exactly when you need them. Decisions that once felt heavy become obvious. This is not coincidence. This is the flow state. It's what happens when you stop managing reality and start moving with it. The flow state is not laziness. It's not waiting for life to save you. It's a partnership with the present moment. It's when you realize, I don't have to force this. I just have to listen. And listening requires presence, stillness, attunement, the kind of attention that doesn't demand answers. It receives them. Albert Matthews, a railway operator in the 1930s, had this experience in a way he never expected. One day, a minor malfunction redirected his train onto an unfamiliar track. Frustrated, he braced for delay, for trouble. But what happened? On that unintended path, the train avoided a collision with another that had unexpectedly crossed their usual line. He later said, "The mistake saved lives." It wasn't a mistake at all. That's the nature of flow. You don't always understand it in real time, but when you trust the current, it always leads somewhere sacred. Flow is not a reward for effort. It's a natural result of energetic harmony. When your inner world is calm, your outer world reflects it. When you no longer try to control outcomes organize themselves in ways you couldn't have planned. And the best part? It feels effortless because it's in tune. So how do you enter this state? Not by chasing silence, not by faking peace, but by remembering that the present moment is not something to survive. It's something to collaborate with. You open yourself to flow the moment you say, I trust this moment to carry intelligence I don't yet understand. Dorothy Williams, a stage actress in 1944, was known for her precision. Her lines were flawless, her timing impeccable, but night after night, her performances felt mechanical, controlled, tense, until one evening, the stage lights malfunctioned. For a moment, she froze. Then she laughed, improvised, moved differently, and something clicked. The audience leaned in. The moment became alive. After the show, someone told her, "Tonight, you stopped performing. You started being." That's flow. It's the surrender of performance for the purity of presence. And in that presence, synchronicity is born. So let's be practical. Here's a simple practice to activate flow in your life, starting now. The flow calibration exercise. 1. Upon waking, resist the urge to dive into structure. Instead, place your hands on your heart. and say, I trust life to show me what matters today. 2. For the first hour, follow lightness. Pay attention to what feels curious, easeful, satisfying, even if it's small. Throughout your day, notice unexpected messages, people who cross your path, coincidences that feel too perfect to ignore. 3. Don't chase them. Just notice them. Receive them. Because synchronicity is not rare. It's your natural language when you're no longer speaking from fear. Synchronicity is not the universe doing something for you. It's the universe moving as you. Once you're coherent enough to notice, you've likely said it before. Wow, I was just thinking of that person, and they texted. I opened the book right to the page I needed. That thing I let go of suddenly came back better. That's not magic. That's resonance. That's what happens when you stop interfering and start aligning. So here's the deeper layer. Flow is not an accident. It's the inevitable outcome of identity, surrender, and presence in harmony. Identity chooses the frequency. Surrender removes the interference. Presence lets you catch the wave. Once those three are active, timing becomes a friend. Let go of urgency. Urgency is always a sign of mistrust. Let go of control. Control is always a symptom of misalignment. Instead, replace them with listening and readiness. Because when you are in flow, you don't need to find your path. Your path starts finding you. There is a river inside of you that already knows the way. Rumi, your job is not to carve it. Your job is to feel it, to move with it, to trust its current. And the moment you do, you stop paddling against time. You stop forcing fate. You start experiencing a world that moves at the speed of your surrender. Let this be your reminder. Flow isn't found. It's allowed. Synchronicity isn't earned. It's received. Timing isn't controlled. It's revealed to those who are present enough to recognize it. You don't need to push anymore. Just listen. Just feel. Just follow the thread of ease. Because where there is ease, there is energy. And where there is energy, life is trying to tell you something. Chapter 8. The mirror closes. Integration, stillness, and creative power. There's a moment after awakening that no one talks about. It's not fireworks. It's not euphoria. It's silence. Stillness. Not empty. Full. It's the silence that comes when the chasing stops. When the proving dissolves. When the seeking melts into knowing. And in that knowing, something ancient is remembered. You were never waiting for life to begin. You were always the one shaping it, breath by breath, choice by choice, frequency by frequency. The mirror closes, but not to end the reflection, to remind you, it was always you. So pause here with me. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Unfasten the armor of effort, and feel this truth without resistance. You are not a problem to solve. You are not a life to fix. You are a field of consciousness capable of shaping timelines with intention, emotion, and embodied choice. Everything that once felt separate, time, people, power, flow, is part of a single conversation. You with you. You with the version of you that already knows, already trusts, already is. This is the final turn of the spiral. Not up, not down, but inward. You've walked through identity, choice, reflection, surrender, activation, and flow. Now, you return, not where you began, but to a self who sees through different eyes. Eyes that don't look for signs, because they've become the signal. Eyes that don't doubt the mirror, because they know they're the one holding it. This final chapter isn't here to teach you anything. It's here to remind you that nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be forced. Your greatest creative power comes not from effort, but from pure coherence. Coherence between who you are, what you feel, and how you move. That alignment, that's the most potent frequency in the universe. And when you live from it, everything becomes response. Let's take one final example, not from history, but from within. A version of you has already lived the peace you crave. They've already walked calmly through chaos, already spoken with clarity, already laughed from the belly, fully present, wildly free. That version exists now, and from today forward, you don't have to reach for them. You only have to relax into them, because creation is not a race. It's a rhythm. It's not about force. It's about fidelity to your essence. The creator is not someone who makes reality happen. The creator is the one who allows reality to reflect who they already are. So what now? You walk, you breathe, you remember, and every room you enter, every choice you make, every silence you rest in, becomes part of your living broadcast. No more waiting, no more chasing. You are, and that being isn't passive. It's precise, potent, radiant. It says, I no longer doubt the mirror. I no longer distort my frequency. I no longer apologize for my clarity, because the world doesn't need more effort. It needs more authentic energy. It needs you, not as a role, not as a reaction, but as presence. And presence, when consistent, becomes gravity. So here is your final practice. Nothing to fix, nothing to declare. Just this. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes. No agenda, no affirmation, just presence. And feel the frequency of a self that needs nothing. No validation, no manifestation, no miracle, because they're the miracle. And from that place, the world will not just respond. It will reorganize. Because when presence becomes your anchor, reality becomes your echo. You've reached the end of this journey. But in truth, you've only circled back to the beginning. Wiser, deeper, clearer. You now walk as a transmitter, not a seeker. A creator, not a reactor. A lighthouse, not a passenger. And the mirror? It's always with you, ready to show you what you've chosen to believe about life, about love, and most of all about you. You are not in the world. The world is in you. Muji, let this chapter be a soft closing, not a full stop. The words may end, but your field keeps speaking. Let's speak clearly. Let's speak love. Let's speak with the frequency of someone who knows exactly who they are and lives like it. If you feel this now, even a whisper of it, then the book has already fulfilled its purpose, because it didn't come to teach you. It came to find you when you were ready, and now you are. Final invocation. I walk as consciousness. I trust the mirror. I embody the frequency. I am the creator. I am the created. I am the moment, becoming itself. If you enjoyed this journey, share this message. Let it land where it's meant to. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Every day we have new videos to feed your soul. Chapter 9. The frequency of emotion. Why feeling is the true creator. We've been taught to think our way into change, to fix our mindset, to reframe the problem, to outsmart the pain. But here's the truth no one tells you. Thoughts are blueprints. Emotion is the electricity that brings the building to life. It's not what you believe with your mind that creates. It's what you feel with your body over and over again. Because the universe doesn't speak in language. It speaks in frequency. And frequency is dictated by one thing: emotion. Every feeling is a frequency, and every frequency is a signal, and every signal calls in a corresponding field of reality. You don't manifest what you think you deserve. You manifest what your nervous system feels familiar with. That's why affirmations without emotion fall flat. Why action without alignment burns you out. Why repeating, "I am abundant," while feeling scarcity creates more scarcity. Because the universe doesn't hear your words. It feels your vibrational broadcast and responds accordingly. Let's go deeper. Imagine a violin. The string vibrates. The body of the violin amplifies the vibration. And that's what you hear. Your body works the same way. A thought is a string, but unless the body resonates, no music is heard. And that's why emotion is the instrument of creation. You've been tuning your thoughts. Now it's time to tune your emotional frequency. Here's the beautiful and uncomfortable truth. Your emotion is not a reaction to your reality. It's a transmitter that selects it. Fear doesn't come because the world is dangerous. Fear selects timelines where danger is more likely. Joy doesn't appear after the breakthrough. Joy is the cause of the breakthrough, not the effect. Gratitude doesn't follow the miracle. It's the signal that activates the miracle. So how do you use this? You start by feeling on purpose. You stop waiting for the external world to give you a reason to feel better. And instead, you treat emotion like a creative tool. This is not emotional bypassing. This is emotional intelligence. It means allowing what's there, and then choosing what's true beneath the old patterns. Because most of your current feelings aren't even yours. They're echoes, inherited frequencies, emotional muscle memory from environments long gone. But you're not bound to those frequencies. You can retune your field right now. Let's take a story. Walter Bennett was a technician in the 1940s who repaired radios. One day, he noticed something unusual. A station he knew was always there wasn't coming through. He adjusted the dial, rechecked the antenna, nothing, until he realized the issue wasn't the radio. It was the interference in the air. The signal was still broadcasting, but the static had taken over the sound. Your body works the same way. The emotion you want to live in, joy, peace, clarity, is already available. But the static of old emotions, unprocessed fear, and habitual doubt are jamming the signal. Your job isn't to create high-frequency emotion. It's to clear space for it to come through. So how do we do that? Not by suppression, not by shaming low-vibe feelings, but by witnessing and selecting. You witness what's present. You give it space. You breathe through it. And then you ask, what emotional state will be most aligned with the life I say I'm creating? And then this is the key. You feel it now. Not intellectually, not with effort, but with a body level yes. Let's practice it. Emotion tuning ritual. 1. Sit in stillness. Place a hand on your chest or belly. Breathe. 2. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel more often? Is it safety, expansion, creativity, intimacy? 3. Now, summon a memory where you felt that, even briefly, even long ago. 4. Relive it not in thought, but in sensation. Let the body feel it. Let the breath slow. Let the posture shift. 5. Now, amplify that feeling for 60 seconds. 6. Say quietly, "This is who I am now. This is my frequency. This is what reality will reflect." You don't need to feel perfect. You just need to feel on purpose. Because the emotional frequency you live in most consistently becomes your energetic signature. In reality, it mirrors your signature with total precision. This is why the most powerful people in the world, spiritually and practically, aren't those who think the best thoughts. They are those who can hold the clearest emotions. They stay in the field of trust, even in chaos. They rest in peace, even before answers arrive. They radiate love, even in the unknown. And the universe reorganizes itself around their coherence. Because feeling is not soft. Feeling is sovereign. So if you feel anxious, let that be seen. And then choose calm. If you feel small, honor it. And then choose expansion. If you feel doubtful, witness it. And then choose certainty. Anyway, you are not here to pretend. You are here to remember that emotion is the spell, and you are the caster. Let's close with this. The emotional field you live in is not only shaping your personal life, it's contributing to the collective field of the planet. Your joy isn't selfish. Your peace is not a luxury. They are contributions, frequencies, code that affect everyone who comes into your presence. So feel with intention, feel with clarity, and let your emotion become the most consistent, coherent message your life ever sends. Chapter 10, Gratitude as a Technology. How appreciation rewires reality. Gratitude is not a virtue. It is not a personality trait. It is not politeness. And it is definitely not positive thinking. Gratitude is a technology, a precise vibrational instrument that sends a message to reality. This frequency is familiar. Send me more of it. When you feel gratitude, deeply, presently, and preemptively, you aren't reacting to reality. You're coding it. You are telling the mirror, "This is the reflection I choose to amplify." You've been taught to feel grateful after something good happens. But that's backwards. True gratitude comes first, not as performance, but as permission. When you feel grateful now, without needing a reason, you become a vibrational match for the reality where the reason already exists. It's not delusion, it's direction. You are tuning your frequency to the outcome you've already chosen. And the universe, in its infinite coherence, cannot help but respond. Let's go deeper. Gratitude is the only emotion that bridges receiving and giving simultaneously. When you feel thankful, you are acknowledging that something valuable has been given or is already present. You are worthy of receiving it. You are energetically available to it. And in that moment, your field becomes magnetic. Not because you're asking, but because you're already resonating with the reality where the thing you desire is true. This is not a trick. It is mechanics. Imagine walking into a dark room and flipping the switch. The light turns on, not because you asked politely, but because the circuit completed. That's how gratitude works. It's not emotional currency. It's an electrical circuit that tells your inner and outer world, I am already in the frequency of fulfillment. Virginia Thompson, a telephone operator in the 1940s, discovered this by accident. She just lost her mother. Grief, silence, and emptiness filled the small house they once shared. But one morning, standing in the kitchen holding a chipped cup, she whispered, "Thank you, Mom, for everything." She didn't mean to cry, but she did. Not from sadness, but from something softer. A pulse of unexpected warmth, like connection. She felt the grief shift, not disappear, but transform. Later, she wrote in her journal, "I thought I had nothing left, but when I gave thanks, I found presence." That's what gratitude does. It doesn't erase pain. It transmutes it. Because gratitude isn't naive. It sees everything and still chooses to say, there is beauty here. There is meaning here. There is life here. That choice, that's the frequency of transformation. Let's break this down vibrationally. Every thought carries data. Every emotion carries a charge. Gratitude carries the charge of, I already have. I am already connected. I trust what I cannot yet see. Those frequencies collapse timelines. They signal to the quantum field that you are not in lack. You are in alignment. And reality responds to alignment, not desire. This is why some people manifest so fluidly. They live in pre-gratitude. They feel grateful for the clients before they come. They bless the relationship before it begins. They smile at the idea of money flowing before the balance shifts, because they understand that gratitude doesn't follow proof. It creates it. Let's be clear. This is not blind optimism. This is deep intelligence. You can still grieve, still question, still navigate contrast, and choose to feel thankful for the lesson, the strength, the refinement you're gaining. That is spiritual maturity. To say, I may not like this, but I am still grateful to be awake, aware, and alive in this moment. That statement alone upgrades your frequency. Here's a practice to install this frequency into your daily field. The pre-gratitude protocol. 1. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. 2. Imagine one desire that you've been waiting to manifest. A job, relationship, home, opportunity. 3. Now, place yourself on the other side of it. It already happened. 4. From that future place, say softly, "Thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for the timing. Thank you for preparing me. Thank you for making me ready." 5. Feel the appreciation. Let it rise. Let your body respond. Let this be real, because in the quantum field, it already is. Now, carry that feeling through your day. Don't look for the manifestation. Let it look for you, because your gratitude already made you findable. We end this chapter not with a promise, but a certainty. The grateful heart is the clearest antenna in the universe. It doesn't plead. It doesn't push. It broadcasts a signal of completion, and creation answers accordingly. So if you do nothing else today, do this. Feel grateful, not because everything is perfect, but because you are powerful enough to feel gratitude before it's required. That's mastery. That's magnetism. That's the code of a creator who no longer waits. Chapter 11. Becoming intuitive again. Relearning the language of inner guidance. There's a voice within you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't justify. It doesn't explain. It simply knows. Knows before the facts. Knows beneath the logic. Knows beyond what the mind is allowed to see. This voice is called intuition, and it is not a gift. It is not reserved for mystics or empaths. It is not woo. It is the most ancient technology of the human soul, and it has never stopped speaking to you. You may have just forgotten how to listen. In a world obsessed with metrics, logic, and data, intuition became mistrusted. You were trained to think through everything, measure everything, wait for evidence, even when your entire body was already whispering, "This is right," or "This is wrong." But here's the truth. The body knows before the brain. The heart speaks before the mouth. And the soul speaks in sensation. The only question is, are you still enough to hear it? Let's redefine intuition. It is not a prediction. It is pattern recognition at the level of energy. Intuition is the ability to feel truth before it becomes tangible. It's a quiet certainty that a relationship is over long before it breaks. It's the magnetic pull toward a new idea before you can explain why. It's the no you feel when everything looks right on paper. The yes you feel when something just clicks, even if it doesn't make sense. Because intuition doesn't speak in sentences. It speaks in resonance. And resonance is always honest. Take Clara Mitchell, a teacher in 1942 Minnesota. She was offered a prestigious position in another state. Higher pay, more recognition, a logical step forward. But something in her stomach said, no, not out of fear, but stillness. An inner boundary had been crossed softly. Everyone told her she was foolish to refuse. But months later, the war redirected funding. The program dissolved. Her school, however, received a rare grant, and she was promoted to director. Years later, she said, "I didn't know why I stayed. I only knew I had to. I've stopped needing to explain my intuition. I just listen now." This is the return, the remembrance, that you know more than you think you know, because you are more than your mind. You are a field, a receiver, a consciousness that picks up data too subtle for thought. And when you trust that, when you return to the body's yes, the gut's no, the chill on your skin, you begin to move differently, more slowly, more precisely, more sovereignly, because you're no longer making decisions to prove, avoid, or impress. You are choosing from alignment, and alignment never needs defense. Let's talk about signals. Intuition rarely arrives as a command. It comes as a pause, a pull, a quickening, a contraction in the chest, a lightness in the belly, a sudden silence around something that once made sense. These are not coincidences. They are language. And when you stop dismissing them, they get louder, clearer. Because the more you trust your field, the more the field speaks through you. Here's the most radical truth of this chapter. Your body has never lied. You've just been taught not to believe it. The ache wasn't random. The restlessness wasn't immaturity. The sense of off wasn't you being dramatic. It was your system, your wisdom, speaking in real time. And now, you're ready to trust it again. Not partially, fully. Here's how to begin. The intuitive calibration practice. 1. Sit quietly. Place your hands over your heart and gut. Breathe slowly. Eyes closed. 2. Ask one yes/no question. Something real. Something present. 3. Don't think. Don't answer. Just observe. Where in your body is there contraction? Where is there peace? Is there a pull forward or a desire to shrink? 4. Let the body answer. Now honor it. Take one aligned action based on that signal, even if it's small, even if no one else understands. This is how you rebuild trust, not just with intuition, but with yourself. When you ignore your intuition, you betray your knowing. When you follow it, you return to your center. Unknown. You've been out of center for too long, trying to calculate everything, trying to make it make sense. But the soul doesn't traffic in sense. It transmits truth, and truth isn't logical. It's liberating. So here's your permission. You don't need to explain why you feel what you feel. You only need to honor it. Honor the tension. Honor the yes. Honor the ache that tells you something needs to shift. Because intuition doesn't make life easier. It makes it clearer. And clarity is worth everything. From this moment forward, speak from your knowing. Move from your core. Act not for approval, but from resonance. Let people call it irrational. Let the world call it strange. You'll call a home. And when you live from intuition, you don't just manifest what you want. You magnetize what's truly yours. Because your path doesn't come from logic. It comes from listening. Chapter 12, Collective Fields. How to stay coherent in a noisy world. You are not only affected by your thoughts, you're influenced constantly by something even more subtle. The field, the energetic atmosphere surrounding your body, the emotional weather of a room, the vibration of a collective, a family, a nation, a planet. Every conversation, every scroll, every room you enter, every social trend you absorb, all of it is part of a collective frequency. And whether you know it or not, you're either tuning to it or anchoring your own. Most people don't realize they're being swept by invisible tides. They wake up heavy, not because they're broken, but because they've absorbed a field of worry. They walk into a room and shrink, not because they lack confidence, but because the space is dense with comparison. They scroll for 10 minutes and feel anxious, not because they saw something wrong, but because their nervous system is now attuned to conflict, speed, and noise. It's not personal, it's relational, because you're not just an individual. You're a receiver and a transmitter inside a living, breathing ocean of frequency. And the question is, are you absorbing the field, or are you shaping it? To understand this, we must revisit a core truth. Coherence is contagious. So is incoherence. Walk into a room where one person is grounded, and slowly, others start to breathe. Walk into a room where one person is frantic, and suddenly, everyone forgets their center. The nervous system is a tuning fork. It syncs automatically with what's dominant, unless you train it to do otherwise. This is why spiritual work is not selfish. It's energetic hygiene, not just for you, but for every room you enter. So how do we stay coherent, even when the world isn't? How do we protect our field without becoming rigid, reactive, or numb? We begin by understanding that your frequency is your responsibility. You can't always control the energy around you, but you can choose not to become it. You can hold peace, even when surrounded by panic. You can anchor clarity, even when the world is drunk on confusion, not by resisting it, but by becoming so internally coherent that your signal becomes stronger than the static. Let's bring this into the body. When you're in a room of agitation, what happens? Your breath shallows, your shoulders tighten, your thoughts speed up. Your awareness leaves the center and seeks external cues. This is nervous system resonance. Automatic, subconscious, ancient. But once you become aware of it, you have a choice. You can pause, breathe, anchor, reclaim your internal signal. And in doing so, you stop being a sponge and become a beacon. This is not about superiority. It's about sovereignty. You don't have to fight the collective field. You just have to hold your tone. Because the world doesn't need more reaction. It needs coherent people who remember who they are, even in the noise. Here's a simple example. Imagine a string quartet, perfectly in tune, and then someone walks in with a loud, off-key instrument. If the quartet panics, they break. But if they stay tuned, the dissonance has nowhere to land. Eventually, the noise either quiets or tunes to the dominant frequency. You are that string quartet. Your inner world is the music. Your peace is the anchor. Your presence is the instrument. Let's make this practical. You won't always have time to meditate. You won't always be in control of your environment. But you can always return to internal frequency control. Here's how. The 3-step field reset. 1. Notice the distortion. Pause. Breathe. Acknowledge. This isn't mine. Whether it's fear, rush, comparison, or guilt, you've picked it up. 2. Return to your baseline. Ask, what does peace feel like in my body? Remember that feeling. Invite it back. Breathe until you feel it land. 3. Radiate, don't absorb. Silently affirm. I hold the tone. I transmit coherence. Walk, speak, move from that space, even if no one else does. This is how you protect your field. Not by escape, but by expansion. Your signal becomes stronger than the static, and you stop being at the mercy of noise. You become a mirror of stillness in a world addicted to motion. Here's what's miraculous. You don't need to fix anyone. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't even need to speak. You just need to hold your frequency, and the field shifts. People come around you. Ideas come to you. Opportunities find you. Why? Because you become safe energy. And safe energy is the most magnetic force in the world. Let this be your reminder. You are a receiver, but also a broadcaster. You are affected by fields, but you shape them too. You are here to lead, not by volume, but by vibration. So hold the tone. Anchor your signal. Walk through the noise like the tuning fork that reminds others. This is what peace feels like. This is what presence sounds like. This is what coherence looks like. You don't need to be louder. You only need to be clearer. And in a world of chaos, clarity becomes a revolution. Chapter 13. The Elegance of Enough. Returning to sufficiency as the highest wealth. There is a stillness deeper than peace. It comes not from silence, but from sufficiency, from the felt truth that I'm already whole. I already have enough. I already am enough. This is not complacency. It's not giving up. It's not mediocrity. It is the frequency of completion, the most magnetic, luxurious energy a human being can emit. And in that field, everything begins to shift. You've been taught that to evolve, you must want more. More growth, more wealth, more healing, more alignment. But more can become a drug. It can create a loop of insufficiency. where you're always fixing, always striving, always assuming that the next insight, the next breakthrough, the next manifestation will finally be the thing. But here's the truth that awakens everything. Nothing you attract will ever feel enough until you realize you already are. Sufficiency is not about having everything. It's about not needing everything to feel full. It's the state of being where desire becomes devotion, not desperation, where the dream is honored, but no longer worshipped as your salvation, where you can say, I welcome more, but I am not waiting for it to feel whole now. This is spiritual maturity, the moment when the soul stops bargaining with life, stops praying for rescue, stops performing for worthiness, and begins to rest in what already is. It sounds simple. It is. But simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is sovereignty. Let me tell you about Howard Matthews, a watchmaker in the 1920s. He was obsessed with refinement, always tweaking, fixing, perfecting his pieces. But something gnawed at him. No matter how precise the gears, how elegant the casing, he always felt like something was missing. One day, an old monk visited his shop and asked him, "What is this clock measuring?" Howard replied, "Time." The monk smiled gently. "No, it's measuring your belief that something still needs to happen." That night, Howard stopped working early. He sat with a half-finished watch in silence. And for the first time in years, he felt enough. Enough air, enough beauty, enough being. From that day forward, he still created, but not to prove anything, not to chase perfection. He created from fullness, from sufficiency, and his work changed, not because he added more, but because he added nothing. He simply let what already was be complete. This is the elegance of enough, the meal that nourishes without excess, the moment that doesn't need to be photographed, the breath that doesn't need to lead anywhere. It is the remembering that you are not missing anything. And when you vibrate from that field, life responds not with scraps, but with abundance that matches your peace. Let's clear something up. Enough is not the end of desire. It's the alignment of desire. It's the recognition that desire can exist without lack. That wanting doesn't have to be hunger. It can be a celebration, not a plea. It's when you want from your fullness, not for your filling. And that distinction changes everything. This is why the mystics don't manifest from force. They manifest from overflow. They have learned that. You don't get more by grasping. You get more by blessing what is. And from that blessing, reality expands, naturally, easily, wisely, because life trusts the one who doesn't need more to feel whole. So how do you access this sufficiency? You stop seeking it out there, and you begin by saying to the now, I receive you. I receive this breath. I receive this room. I receive this season. I receive this version of myself, not as a problem, but as presence. You hold what is, not with resistance, but with reverence. And suddenly, what once felt ordinary becomes sacred, because it's not about what you have. It's about how completely you're here for what you already hold. The practice of enough. 1. Sit in stillness. Breathe. 2. Place one hand over your heart, one over your belly. 3. Speak softly. In this moment, I have enough. In this body, I am enough. In this breath, I remember enough is everything. 4. Breathe in. Feel the body settle. Breathe out. Let go of the myth of almost there. 5. Sit for 3 minutes and do nothing. Just witness the elegance of now. You will feel it. The spaciousness, the peace, the quiet yes. This is the vibration that manifests without effort, because the one who already feels enough no longer blocks the flow. You may not have everything your mind desires, but you already have everything your soul needs to begin. The rest will come, not because you need it, but because you're no longer resisting it. And when you are no longer in lack, the universe becomes deeply generous. Let this truth live in your cells. You are already a field of sufficiency. There is nothing left to prove. There is only the peace of being what you already are. Not someday, not almost, now.